But I just want to point out two things. So one is that why does he have issues with lawyers and doctors? So basically, his fundamental issue is that lawyers and doctors, both in their own ways, they actually they help us indulge further. So Gandhi believes that we are very much in a position to handle things on our own, right? There is a certain degree of self-reliance that we must nurture no matter what. But what lawyers do is that they don't let us nurture that self-reliance. They don't let us nurture that autonomy that we must. So what do lawyers do? So let's say there is, and Gandhi has given this example as well, that let's say there is a quarrel, and so we are well in a position to kind of do something about these disputes that take place between, let's say, between family members, between neighbors, and so on. And Gandhi points out that rather than doing that, we actually hire a lawyer. Now, a lawyer is a third party. And the lawyer, given his profession and given what he's to do, what a lawyer does is he kind of exaggerates whatever happened between the two parties, because only then you can really build a solid case. So, and we've seen this, particularly in the context of divorce cases, which is not to say that people should not approach lawyers, but I'm just making an argument that something perhaps not so consequential could be made, markedly consequential in a typical courtroom exchange between two lawyers, two parties. So that is an issue that Gandhi has, because Gandhi believes that it is because of lawyers that we are not able to be essentially self-reliant. Now, it is here that, once again, the question of dialogue comes in. So if you think of quarrels and then you think of dialogue, these are two poles. These are poles apart. So a quarrel, whenever there is a quarrel, there is always an absence of dialogue. And whenever there is a dialogue, there is always the impossibility of a quarrel. And we know that these are qualitatively and essentially two different things. So dialogue and quarrel remain absolutely antithetical. And what lawyers do is they promote quarrels. And as they promote quarrels, they actually restrict the possibilities, or let's say they annihilate the possibilities of dialogue altogether. So their profession itself, the profession of lawyers itself is anti-dialogue. And this is where I think there is an interesting distinction that could be made between dialogue and argument, right? Or dialogue and debate. So we know very well that all these debating societies that we have in schools and colleges, they have nothing to do with dialogue. Because to be a good debater is not to be someone who is dialogic. In fact, dialogue is essentially anti-debate, anti-argument. Dialogue is about a certain willingness, whereas debate is about finding opportunities to kind of hit the other person, attack the other person, find the vulnerable spots and kind of capitalize on those. That's a good debater. Somebody who can just make sure the other person remains silenced or is shown the door or is humiliated. Well, that's the debater. That's the debater one should really be an audience of, and so on. So lawyers are into debates and arguments, and therefore, and lawyers essentially, and this is something that again Gandhi writes about, that it is because of the law courts that the colonial dispensation somehow sustains itself in the subcontinent. And lawyers are so, the profession, the entire ecosystem is so distant from the very spirit or the very soul of dialogue. So that is one. In relation to doctors, again, a very lucid reflection. And the simple argument here is that doctors, again, don't let us be on our own. They keep us away from this self-reliance, autonomous, in-control existence. So you've overeaten. You should not have overeaten. So Gandhi says you've overeaten, and then there is indigestion or there is stomach upset. And then you go to the doctor, and the doctor, rather than telling you that you should not have overeaten, the doctor simply gives you a pill. And you take the pill and you're doing fine a day or two later. And then within a week, you overeat again. And then, so Gandhi talks about the fact that how there is this very convenient kind of a cycle that one becomes a part of, is trapped into. And I'm sure, we know this in our families, at least in my family. I'm sure you'll get all kinds of ideas about my family. But in my family, for God knows how many years, people don't consult doctors if there is stomach indigestion, because everybody knows what to take. So, everyone is a doctor when it comes to stomach indigestion or whatever, any issue related to digestion. So you have an upset stomach, and one of your cousins or uncles would just recommend, and then it's sorted, and nobody gives a damn as to why did this happen. Now Gandhi points out that what we really need to do is, rather than falling into this trap, something that the doctors facilitate. The doctors play an instrumental role in this vicious cycle, for the lack of a better phrase. Gandhi says that we should actually have control over ourselves. And this is what he means by Swaraj as well. So often when people talk about Swaraj, the word Swaraj, it is translated as self-rule. And it was, of course, a very important call as far as the decolonization struggle is concerned. And I think all across the 6.5 decades of decolonization struggle, Swaraj was something that meant self-rule, that meant a certain dominion vis-a-vis political doings. But Gandhi is actually using Swaraj in a very different way. So he's not talking about self-rule. He's basically referring to rule over self or control over self. So the argument that if you are able to control yourself, if you're able to rule over yourself, then you will not have an upset stomach in the first instance, right? It won't be. It just won't be. And who else but Gandhi is a legend when it comes to all of this. Gandhi never fell ill. He hardly fell ill because the man was immaculate. The man was so particular about the kind of food he would take and the timings and the quantity. And he never violated any of that. Come what may, Gandhi would just not deviate. No matter what you have in front, you put in front of Gandhi, but Gandhi would never get tempted. And that's a very important lesson, again, in terms of this whole idea of convenience and inconvenience. So the modern civilization, again, to go back to Gandhi, is about this, this temptation and the convenience with which people just live their lives. But what requires a higher sense of being, a higher purpose of existence, is to kind of to take a step back and to not, to kind of resist the temptation and not fall for it. And once again, this is where a different kind of dialogue comes into existence, where you actually have a very deep, profound, and meaningful dialogue with your own self. And you make sure that you don't fall when it comes to these occasions and opportunities and moments and so on. So again, the doctors don't let that dialogue happen, because there is medicine, and medicine is simply convenience. Whereas prevention, precaution, a certain code of living, a certain discipline in terms of day-to-day life is much more laborious. It's a lot more taxing affair as compared to taking a pill every 6 hours, 8 hours, and so on.